Peace, y'all. This Medicine Man once again. Y'all already know. All right. This class right here is the continuation of our working our roots with the Bible. Now, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me and that everybody's tuned in. So, if everybody's tuned in, hit the chat section. Turn on the chat section and see if I can make sure I see everybody clear. So everybody with us in the group? We're just giving everybody some time to catch up. Because I know this is a surprise one. So I'm going to give everybody a few moments to catch up so we can get everything going and rolling. But for the meantime, this video right here is only in this group. It's not to be shared. It's on a private YouTube channel where only you guys can use the link here to go view it. So because these classes won't be posted on YouTube, won't be posted anywhere. These coming straight from the heart, really classes. Like it ain't no blueprint to it. It's coming straight from the heart. Some of the Bible verses I know, I wrote it down for these particular things that we're going to discuss tonight. And we ain't really going to discuss much. I'm going to show y'all how to put some things together. And we're going to bind ourselves to prosperity using the Bible. And we're going to learn how to bind some other people also using Bible verses and using the power of our ancestors that's inherited in the Bible. So let's give everybody a few more moments so we're going to get to business. Sorry, I ain't got no music for y'all, man. I should have had some Kenny G running. You know what I mean? Have some Kenny G bumping up in there for everybody while we're waiting to get some people in. But hold tight for me. All right, we all in? Well, when we working our roots with the Bible, one of the things that we want to do, and one of the things that we do as root workers, is we look at the Bible from a different perspective than how everybody else look at the Bible. There's a lot of people that generally view the Bible as an invention of Europeans or being misinterpreted or mistranslated by Europeans and then passed off on to us in a diluted, distorted form. So what I'm trying to show y'all right now tonight is some of the ancient African cosmological meanings, significance, and power that's in some of the verses that's in the Bible. Because the way that our ancestors viewed the Bible is not the same way that our oppressors have viewed the Bible. So when we understand the African cosmological significances in the Bible, then we'll understand how it works for African people worldwide in ways that it don't work for other people. It's all about perception. How we perceive the Bible is actually how we perceive ourselves, because the Bible is a representation of the energies that flow from within us. So now, when we got a situation, and like I said, in reference to this class, we talking about binding and working our roots with the Bible first, but we're going to talk about working our roots in the aspect of binding ourselves. That's one of the things that we should learn how to do, is bind ourselves. So the question is, how or for what reason should we bind ourselves to prosperity? For what reason? And then that's not the only thing you can bind yourself to. You can also bind yourself to a job. You can bind yourself to a situation. You see, binding is not only in the reference of domination work, like some people think, well, if you're doing a binding, isn't that domination work? Well, no. Because your binding is connecting. You want to connect yourself. So if you are for a job promotion or you got a new job you're trying to apply for, you have to connect yourself to that job from a spiritual perspective. So what you're doing is binding yourself to the job or binding yourself to an interview. And in situations like that, you would bind yourself through every stage and every process. I know a lot of times we be thinking, oh, I can just do the binding work. But then in the long run, after you do the binding work, you find out that there's complications in the midst of it. Because one way of thinking like a root worker, the best way in my perspective, is to go ahead and do the work in stages. Like when you first put the application in, you put work on the application. And then you find out who you're turning it to. Then you put work on that person. So you bind application, you bind the person. Then when you go for the interview, whoever you're interviewing, you bind that person immediately within 30 minutes after you leave the interview. You see? And by you continuously creating that flow of energy from binding everyone involved in each part of the deal and each step, it makes your binding stronger. So, and that's one example of binding in the situation of trying to reach a prosperous opportunity. But now, when we look at binding ourselves and all together in prosperity, then we got to look at some of the factors. Like, first of all, before you bind yourself to any form of prosperity, there is things that you have to have set out in your life for you to achieve. You have to have these things set out. You have to have goals and objectives before you bind yourself to prosperity. Because those goals and objectives is what's going to be used to empower your prosperity binding. Okay, for example, you got a goal to go to college. So if your goal is to go to college, you want to bind that idea, that desire into your work. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by writing down all of our goals and objectives, everything we want to achieve. And we can write it down on various pieces of paper. Loose leaf paper is good. But some of us can get fancy and we use bamboo paper or parchment paper or some type of other form of paper that we can use to draw the essence out. Now, one thing about paper, since we're talking about the Bible and binding work and stuff like that, there's different types of papers that's used to write the Bible verses on. Different types. Some people use rice paper. Some people use parchment paper, of course. Then I know everybody here about the Josh paper and the other papers. But I'm going to show y'all something natural. Let me go get it. Be right back. See this right here? Right there. It's a bamboo stick. It's a bamboo stick. And what a lot of people don't know about the bamboo stick is that it is used in Geechee Gullah culture for the most part. It's used in Geechee Gullah culture for many different reasons. We actually make healing sticks out of these. We make healing sticks. They also used to contain elements for different type of magical devices, I would say. And by shaking it, you can enchant spirits and call out spiritual forces and call them up by shaking various elements inside of it. Now, this bamboo stick is used for that purpose. But there is something else significant about the bamboo stick that many people don't know that was used since ancient times. When we do our history, we find out that many people in Africa use bamboo sticks. But what we missed is that a lot of people don't know that bamboo paper was used in very ancient traditions to write magical formulas on, to draw magical seals on, and to put magical oils on. And in our situation, the bamboo paper was used by some of our ancestors here in America to write down certain prayers and prescriptions and stuff and work their magical workings. So let me see if I can show you one. Let me see if I can show y'all the bamboo. I have to break it open a little bit. Right there. See now, when I break it open, the bamboo, when I break it open, here's what we have inside. Look. See? Paper. You see? So now I'm going to take the bamboo paper and put that right there. You see, now we got this bamboo. I found a patch of bamboo plants. And we do a certain thing before we cut these down. You always want to show veneration to the earth. You should never try to remove nothing from the earth as a root worker without showing veneration to the earth. So, and there's a few ways that we do it. One of the ways is that when you cut it, you spit on the spot that you cut. You put your hand on it and you pray to your ancestors to provide you with the type of clarity that you need, the vision that you need, and the power and the help of the earth spirits, so that these earth spirits can assist you. Then we do a little reading. You do your reading and you get the positive answer. Then you move on with the bamboo stick. And like I say, uniquely within the bamboo stick, it's part of ancient tradition and ancient culture. We actually have paper inside of it. So now that we have the paper inside of the bamboo stick, we got that covered. This right here is the bamboo paper. Now we can write the verses from the Bible onto the bamboo paper. So what's so significant about that bamboo paper? Well, the bamboo paper, first of all, it's organic. Okay? The bamboo paper is organic. It comes from the earth. Naturally from the earth. It's not processed. It doesn't have mixed energies on it. And because it doesn't have the mixed energies on it, you're able to channel the natural raw energy of the earth directly through it. Okay? So this is one of the reasons why when people wrote petitions, this is one of the reasons why when people wrote prayers and verses out of the Bible, they wrote it on specific type of special paper. And all the paper were all of the type of papers that we're using were charged in a specific way and came from a specific thing that was organic in the beginning. Sometimes people even wrote on animal hide. Certain magical formulas written on the inside of animal hide and turned into bags with certain things in them, certain ingredients and formulas and certain things done to it. Because it's organic, and the organic nature of the paper or the animal hide carries the essence and contains the essence of the energy you're trying to use. And it actually implements the power of either a nature spirit or it implements the power of a totem animal if you use an animal hide. Okay? So now, when we look at the paper, this paper, so let's see, what are we trying to do? Remember, we're trying to bind ourselves to prosperity, so let's get busy. Give me a second, y'all, because this is what we're going to do. So right now, I'm devising a way, to bind myself to prosperity or a prosperous situation. So I got this situation coming up that's going to be complex next weekend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind myself to the greatest possibilities and manifestations out of that situation before I even get into it. And see, like I tell y'all, that's thinking like a root worker. You want to think far ahead. You don't want to get into the situation and then when your situation, oh, I got to do some work. No, you got to think about it. Clear your path. So before you get into something, before you make an agreement, before you agree to anything, before you buy something of a big magnitude like a house or a car, do the work first. It'll benefit you in the long run. Because once the spirit starts moving for you, as you go through the process of taking care of whatever you got to take care of, they'll alert you because you already got the work in. So it's going to alert you. Things are going to happen. You're going to receive those signs. The signs you got to pay attention to. All right. So now let me look at this verse right there. We got. Y'all still with me, right? Ain't nobody fall asleep yet? We about to do some work. Mark. I see you right there all the time. All right, we're going to Mark. We turn into the book of Mark. So for everybody who got their Bibles with them, let's turn to the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 27. Now this is a binding verse, right? And this is one of the binding verses. This is really actually one of the stronger binding verses that we use, especially when binding other people. But it's all in perception. This verse says, let me read it for you, because we're going to reverse it and we're going to bind ourselves. We're going to put all of this energy that comes from this verse into ourselves and bind ourselves. Listen, it says, how can anyone break into the house of a strong man and steal his things unless he first ties up? He first binds the strong man. Then he can take everything. I'm going to read that one more time for y'all. Here it goes. It says, how can anyone break into the house of a strong man and steal his things unless he first binds the man? Then he can take everything. You see? The verse is Mark 3:27. Okay? Mark chapter 3, verse 27. Binding a strong man. After you bind a strong man, you can go in this house and take us home. Take everything. So what are we trying to bind? Remember, now, we're trying to bind ourselves to prosperity, right? So we're going to use this verse and we're going to take everything from ourselves. But what are we taking? We're going to remove and take all of the bad luck from ourselves. We're going to take all of the misfortune from ourselves and we're going to bind ourselves. You see? We're going to bind ourselves with this verse. We're going to read this verse like it applies to us and bind ourselves with it. Now, on another note, this verse is very deadly when it comes to binding other people, especially problem makers and troublemakers. So just to show you there's two sides of this. Now we're going to go to the next verse real quick, and I'm going to show y'all. Okay, and this verse it says, and this is Matthew. We're looking at Matthew 23:28. It says, outside you look good, but inside you are evil and only pretend to be good. Okay, with this verse right there, and like I said, we binding ourselves. So this is what we're going to do. Just to point those verses out. Now we're going to get ourselves binded to some prosperity. So what I'm going to do is take this, the bamboo paper. Let's remove my candle on the coin over here. Give ourselves the right light there. Always have a pen. I always recommend people to steal a pen from the bank teller when you go to the bank. Always conveniently put this pen in your pocket, because every pen that you use should have the energy of the people that touched it on it. What's significant about that is when you go into a loan company or you go into a bank and you get their pen, look at what kind of business they're doing with this pen. The exchanging energy of money, back and forth, writing down numbers, back and forth. So that pen that that bank teller would have will be infused with that energy, because the more that person does whatever they do with it, it infuses the energy into it. So now this bank teller pen carries that energy. So I'm keeping a continuous flow by transferring the energy from the pen into the paper that's organic. Now, the bamboo sticks were already consecrated. One way of consecrating things is we put them out into the elements, and we pray on them. Now, you can pray certain verses, and there are many that you can pray. But in regards to that particular thing, I always recommend that people pray the prayer from your heart to the ancestors, and you pray to your nature spirits, the ones that came into the world with you, that guide and kind of direct you, that voice in your head that tells you don't do something, and then you turn around and go do it anyway, but knowing that you are supposed to do it. So you have to stay connected with those forces within the prayer. Your ancestors, being connected with your nature spirits. Your nature spirits include your guardian, because everybody came into the world with a guardian. Inside the Bible, I guess from the Christian perspective, they said everyone comes into the world with a guardian angel. In some African traditions, they say that you come into the world with a guardian spirit like an Orisha or voodoo spirit. But nevertheless, it's a teaching in African cosmology that when people are born, they come into the world with a spiritual force, or governed under a spiritual force or energy that goes along with them throughout their whole life. Yes, it does change as you go through your life. It changes, it morphs, it goes into different stages of that particular energy. But overall, that energy governs and guides you throughout your whole life. It's a foundational principle of your personality, who you will become as that spirit lives through you. So with that being said, we add those elements into our own personalized prayer. Now, when we do our own personalized prayers, it shouldn't be really, really, really long. Shouldn't be really, really, really long. But in hoodoo, when we work on our roots, our prayers should be direct and very straight to the point. When I say straight to the point, you want to talk about days and times. And that's a touchy subject with a lot of spiritualists, giving spirits days and times. But when you need something done by a certain time, I think that you should be realistic and set it out like that. But now, you also have to give the spirit enough time. You have to give your spirits enough time to move things for you, to bring opportunities to you, to remove obstacles out of your path. So if you got something, a deadline for tomorrow, then I can't say that the spirits won't move for you that fast. I can't say that, because it will happen, and it has happened. But what I will say, as thinking like a root worker, that's not no good planning. That's horrible planning. Now, I know things happen in the spirit of the moment and stuff like that. Then we deal with those. But when you have the time to plan out your root work, then you should plan it out. Because every step matters into the amount of energy you putting into your work. So now, this is the first thing we're going to do. And we're going to make this spell there kind of simple. We're going to take the pen and we're going to write. We're going to write my name down. All right. Write my name down. Now, we're doing root working, but we're doing sensible root working. So now, what is the number one symbol? What is the number one symbol of money in this society? Now, we ain't going back into ancient books. We ain't doing none of that. What's the number one symbol of money in this society? The almighty dollar sign. All right? The almighty dollar sign is a symbol. It's a sigil, a symbol. It's a seal. Every time we see it, it signifies money to our mind, to our brain, to our spirit. And because it has that type of psychological effect, mental psychological effect on us, when we use that symbol in our magic, it only reinforces it. Now, if you go get an ancient symbol out of an ancient book, if it works, that's fine, perfectly fine. But with this root work we doing, we working in a way that's sensible to the culture and applicable to the culture we in. So now we here, we understand that the greatest symbol of money in this country is the dollar sign. So what we gonna do, we rewrite my name, okay? I'm gonna surround my name with dollar signs on my four corners. I'll do it over on this side and I'm gonna show it to you guys. And this is how it should look. Let me see if y'all can see it. Can y'all see it? That's how it should look. On your four corners, you're going to lock your four corners down. Now, there's other ingredients that we add. Since we binding ourselves, since we're going to bind ourselves, I'm going to put a little bit of money oil on there first. Dab the money on it 5 times. 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The money oil. Let me go get some more flavor. I got some flavor right here. Let me see. Y'all know me. I got some lemongrass right here. So this is what we're going to put some lemongrass and this powder. You know what I mean? In this powder right here, we got and this powder right here, this is right there, lemon peel powder. I mean, not lemon peel, orange peel. I'm sorry, y'all. Orange peel powder. And you see? It's orange peel powder. Smells real, real good. I had this for a couple of months. every time you eat an orange, you let it dry down real good and let it all crust down. And there's certain things we add on it, all organic. And then I consecrated. I had this buried actually in a bank parking lot for about 5 days, and went back and going and got it. It's real powerful, used for prosperity stuff. So we're going to use some orange peel powder that we specially prepared and did work on for months. And then we're going to use some chamomile. We're going to put some chamomile down also. Let's put some chamomile down. We all know chamomile do. If you need help finding that out, then I would recommend you get some chamomile and you do a reading on it. See, notice I didn't tell y'all go Google it and find out. Now, you do a reading on it and you ask the herb itself what it's good for you. Because what chamomile might bring somebody else money, that herb, that living plant, that plant that has a spirit in it could communicate to somebody else like, no, you need to do this for this. So there's always a line of communication that has to be open between you and the spirit. That's why I always tell people use live, living herbs. You want to use the herbs while the spirit is still in it. So now we got the chamomile down. Oh, this is what I got right here. I got, this is the good stuff, the life everlasting herb. We use that too. So I'm going to put a pinch of this down there. Not too much. They're hard to get. I'm trying to get them fresh. So we put a pinch of life everlasting herb right there too. And then we have some, I'm doing some binding, so, no, not that one. A little touch of rosemary for yourself. Just a little touch. Remember the ingredients we use in there. It's all for a purpose. Everything's consecrated. All your roots and herbs are consecrated. And I have some, y'all have to forgive me, I have some high John right here. Also, some high John, a few pieces there, just a few, don't need much. Then, my favorite ingredient, man. Hold on. All right, my favorite ingredient is, now excuse me for a second, the snake root. Snake root, that's right, snake root. That is the real deal when it comes to binding. Snake root and wormwood. We use those to bind. So now we done got that on there. One more ingredient. One more ingredient we need to use. I'm a Geechee. So anything that I do got to go down with some rice in it. You already know. I got some rice in it. But in this case, we ain't rocking rice. We got rice flour. See? We got rice flour, consecrated rice flour. Mixed with some other things in there, and we put it on there. Now, rice flour could be used for various things from protection, mainly protection, but it could be used for various things, but mainly protection. And to seal your work, because this type of work needs to be sealed with something that covers it. So now that we have that seal, we bind it ourselves now. So now, you have the choice. A lot of people do, they cut the verse out of the Bible, they cut it out. And then after they cut the verse out, they will go ahead and fold the verse up in a particular way, maybe with molasses or honey or something like that. Hold on 1 second. But in this case, we're going old school. You know, we're going old school. We definitely got the molasses on deck. And we're going old school with this one, the consecrated molasses. Also mixed with some other ingredients and things like that. All for binding. Now, molasses could be used for sweetening. I know that everybody wants to love Wurkn the sweetening stuff, and it definitely can be used for that. But it also can be used as a binding agent. And in this case, since we're binding ourselves, this is not perceived as a negative binding. It's perceived as a positive binding. Okay? So we binded ourselves to prosperity. We're going to take the molasses and we're going to seal. We're going to seal what we're doing right here with the molasses. And then in this case, we're going to put all of that stuff into a mojo bag. So give me a second. Let me grab this over here. Right. So now we're going to take the mojo bag that we already have. And one thing I can tell you guys, when you work in your roots and working with mojo bags, always consecrate the empty bag first. There are many ways of consecrating it, but you definitely consecrate the empty bag first. And then put your bottom layer of your first root. Your first root. Now, your first root should be your master root for your bag when you're doing work like this. What is your master root? You know, people ask, well, what is your master root? Your master root is the root that represents the strongest goal you're trying to achieve with this work. So, for example, if we trying to bind ourselves, so your master root should be something like snake root or wormwood. Those are just two. There's more to go along with that, but those are roots that's strictly binding roots. So you put it at the bottom. Now, as you build your bag, which we already have those things down there, but as you build your bag, you want to add the heart of it. This is the heart of it. So you're going to pray over this part. Now is when you pray over it. Now is when you recite the Bible verse 5 times. You see, you want to recite that Bible verse, whichever one you're going to use. There's a few more that we can go through, but whatever one you're using, you recite it 5 times. 5, the numerology, number, prosperity, transformation. So this is what we do. Let me pull up this. Let me pull up this other verse. Look at this other one. Before I pray on it. Proverbs 3. We're going to look at Proverbs 3:3. Real quick. Proverbs 3:3. Let love and loyalty always show like a necklace, and write them in your mind. God and people will like you and consider you a success. You see? That's the verse. That's the original one I wanted to give you guys. And God will consider you a success. So this is what you do. You take the verse, and this is Proverbs 3:3. You're going to take it. The glass is already sticking to it. Yeah, God. Get it up there. It's Put everything back on it. All right. Now we add our orange powder. And we're going to add some chamomile. We're going to add chamomile to it. Now that we have that down, enter these elements into the bag. At this time right here is the perfect time to be reciting that verse over and over again. Perfect time. So you will be literally in front of your altar and you say, let love and loyalty always show like a necklace and write them upon your mind. God and people will like you and consider you a success. Let love and loyalty always show like a necklace and write them in your mind. God and people will like you and consider you a success. So now after we put it in there, we drop some candle waxes in there to seal. It's not to completely create a cover, but it's to drop the wax seal in it. And then we drop the candle in, and we turn the candle towards ourselves, and as we turn the candle towards ourselves, we continuously reciting Proverbs 3:3. Okay? Let love and loyalty always show like a necklace and write them in your mind. God and people will like you and consider you a success. You out it, you relight it. What you just did was you out all of the light from your bad and darkness. And in your darkness, you submitted your light to your darkness in the bag, but within your darkness is a binding to your prosperity. So it's going to bind you. Put a little more in there. Now, ultimately, the best pot in the world, Wells Fargo bank dirt. Life from by the teller. So we're going to add that into our bag also. 3 nice finger pinches. Open our paths. Now, we ultimately seal the bag with some molasses. Now to concentrate that energy, to keep it stable, we drop a crystal in there to keep it stable and so that we can communicate with the energy in the bag. Now this crystal has been sitting on the altar for a long, long time, prepared specifically for this. And this crystal is clear so that we can, when we put it in here, boop, it becomes a communicator we can channel channel energy from ourselves to the bag and from the bag to ourselves. So now that we got the bag generally made with the crystal inside of it, you add fire to the bag. So we're going to add some fire to it. During this process is when you channel all of the energy that's coming directly from you. You channel it from your gut. Inhale, hold it, and channel that energy and let it flow straight through your arm. It's a complex process. That's why I tell people they have to be up on their energy work. Because when you're up on your energy work, you can channel. So now while you're channeling, remember you recite the Bible verses. And for situations like that, you definitely have to remember them or have it on a paper right in front of you. You want to channel, recite the verse, and then recite your prayer. Call forth your ancestors. Call forth the ancestors of my bloodline to open the doors and to channel the energy into this bag that I bind myself to prosperity with. I ask that my ancestors and my guardian spirits bind me to every act of prosperity, every idea of prosperity that I can conjure in my own mind, and that they bind me good. That works. So now that we got the energy flowing here, now we take the bag, we wrap the top of the bag. Wrap it and tie it. In most cases, some people put trinkets on it. I wouldn't say put a trinket on your bag unless the trinket itself is consecrated in a major way, because you don't want to disturb the energy of it. Generally, you just don't want to disturb the energy of the bag by adding something that comes from somewhere else for that part. So now that the bag is made, we're going to continue to do more work on this prosperity bag. See, we're going to leave it on the Bible, kind of pretty much to charge that a little bit. And then when you're doing your ancestral work, be right back. Now, when you're doing your ancestral work, now that we have the bag made, now we done prayed on it. We prayed the verses before we make it. We praying during the making. We have everything consecrated. And now everything's in the bag. So now the bag is centralized. So now the bag is centralized, everything's in the bag. Now what are we doing? We already prayed once. So now we're going to call up the ancestors to infuse this bag with the energies from our ancestral power. How do we do that? Well, one way, I'm going to show y'all briefly, one way is, you have an egg-on stick, an ancestral stick. Some root workers use bamboo sticks, prepared a certain specific kind of way and consecrated to their ancestors, and they use it for specific purposes. Like I said, many different purposes you can use it for, but the main one that you use an egg-on stick for, you can use a bamboo stick for, and that's tapping. So when you tapping with your stick, you're asking your ancestors to come forth. So it's like in between all of your taps. By putting a firm gaze on the bag, a death stare, firm gaze on the bag, and you look at it and you channel and you speak into it. If you're a smoker, you're blowing smoke. You're smoking your cigar, you're smoking your cigarette, you're smoking your blunt or whatever, no crack, and you blowing your smoke. Blowing your smoke down on the altar. Sit up like a mob, please. Now, as you're blowing your smoke on to your bag, you're reaffirming everything, all of the energy, all of the prayers. You're reaffirming that all of this is solid, that all of it is correct. So you blow smoke. You hold your ancestral stick directly in front of this bag. I'm gonna hold mine to the side. I guess I don't block everybody's vision. And you blow smoke on your ancestral stick, and you blow smoke to the bag. It's part of the process of transferring the essence from your ancestral stick that has been fully consecrated to your ancestors to your bag to infuse the bag with that energy. So you keep that process going on, and it just kind of depends on the strength that you want on this bag or the strength that you want on the work itself. It doesn't have to go into a bag. That same formula that I'm giving y'all right now could be used in a jar. It would be basically the same principle. You go through the same motions in the process, and you place everything into the jar. And instead of blowing smoke onto the jar, you blow smoke into the jar. And then you seal the jar up with the smoke in it. That's the way that you would do if you were using a jar for this particular work. But once we transfer the energy, I would recommend that you do this just depending on your level of energy work. Some people level of energy work is low, some people are high. That would suffice, but then other people would have to do it numerous amounts of time to build up that energy level. So for the most part, the energy levels that you want to reach is by continuously doing it over and over again. Repetition makes the best experience for you in this, because as you keep doing over and over again, you build confidence and you build your determination to manifest your goal. And so once we transfer that energy over, like I said, for how long you want to do it. Some people 3 days, some people 5 days, some people 7 days. It just depends on how strong you want this bag to be. So you make that decision. But I wouldn't say don't be lazy, because when you be lazy and say, well, I'm gonna just do it this one time and then boom, I'm off, and then all of the energies on that bag may not be balanced. And here's another thing that people don't do when they make magical bags and magical items. Something they don't do. On that while we working this thing. All right, so while we work on this thing, let's do this. What they don't do is a reading on their bag. A lot of people have Superman confidence, and they think that when they make a bag that the energy that they call forth or the energy that they're trying to conjure is definitely there. And in most cases, when you conjure energy of prosperity, you most definitely don't know that it's a prosperous energy that you conjured into that bag. So by doing a reading with your ancestral spirits, it reassures you that you've called the right spirits forth and the right energy up into that bag and also up into my house. You know what I mean? That's why I didn't do any dark, show y'all any dark type of binding. I'm only going to bind myself to prosperity because for the simple fact that if I let loose some prosperous energy in here, then that's a good thing. But now if I made a mistake and called up something bad or something dark, then I have to take it to the drawing board while y'all on live video. So now we're gonna do a reading on the bag. Hey, there you go, right there. Now, with this reading, I'm gonna give y'all the truth of this reading. For this bag right here, this reading says that there is a minor issue of a blockage in this man's life. So we're making this bag for me now. Of course, making this bag for me. And it says that there is some kind of blockage. There is some kind of issue in my path, which means ultimately that this bag is needed. And that's my spirit saying. This bag is needed. So that this 3 of clubs is the path blocker. Okay? This 6 of hearts is the man. I'm doing well. 6 of hearts, the man doing well. But there is an issue in my path that needs to be corrected. And this bag is going to help me do it. It's going to help restore some type of balance. I don't know yet. I would have to do another reading and get in depth with this. But it's restoring, this bag is going to restore some type of balance for some type of issue that's going to become a block in my path. So this is actually a good reading, a good bag made, and it got straight to the point that I have some kind of blockage that's going to help this man, which is me, but I'm doing good. Now, if I had a 6 of clubs or a 6 of spades right there, then this bag would have been a total disaster in my eyes. It would have been telling me that, okay, you made this bag, but you have all of these issues, so you need to go and read it, and then there's going to be more things that you're probably going to need to add to this bag, consecrate it again, come back and do another reading, probably 3 days later or more, and find out what's the status on the spiritual energy at that particular time, and if it's good for me to accept or receive it. So this bag is a great bag. So and that's what we did. So now, what I do with this bag? Well, one thing I do with this bag is that I have my powder, spirit powder all over it. So I take this bag and I wipe it all over my body. Why? Because I'm transferring the energy that I called up into the bag, and I'm transferring the energy onto myself. Okay? So if you're doing things, you want to take the bag and do this with it, cool. You want to wipe it all over your body. Woman, don't put this bag in your vagina. This is rice flour. Nothing that's going to make you itch. Nothing, it's all organic, nothing going to make you itch, nothing allergic or nothing like that. So you, like I said, you can rub it on don't put it in your vagina or nothing like that, but rub it all over your body, on the right side of your body and left side of your body, and keep it in your right pocket. You put it in your bra, put it in your pocket, put it in your right sock. It just depends. When you get home, you always put this in your pillowcase. Put it in your pillowcase, under your bed, in your right shoe. Any of those scenarios would work for keeping you clear and receiving messages, dreams. One thing about my bags, everybody says that, they've been having dreams like crazy because this is what they do. I put a particular type of vision herb in my bags that induce visions. So because I want people to have a clarity of mind. Right. So being that we got all of this done, I want to know who have any questions. And if anybody have a question, go ahead and hit me up. I'm open for the questions. Geesh, I got 1 million of them. All right, let's look at some of these questions. Let's see if I can see him. All right. What was it that you buried at the bank for 5 days, Charles? Oh, that's already answered. Okay. Um, let's make sure. Anybody got any more questions? I'm still right here now. Ask why you got me now. Y'all got me. Okay, Charles said, where I get the herbs, I picked them. Yeah, we already answered that one too, Charles. Let's make sure we got everybody covered. If that's about it, if y'all don't have any more questions, then give me 1 second, guys. Just making sure I got everybody covered on the questions. Zola asked the question, what should we do with self-made bags to ensure dreams and visions? The vision herbs, man, I mean, there's all kinds of different vision herbs, and it just kind of depends on what works for you. Rosemary is one of the great vision herbs. I also like vision stones. I like magnetic stones for the most part to induce dreams, things like pyrite, hematites, in conjunction with the rosemary. Sitting in some olive oil, rosemary, olive oil, white bowl, quartz crystal, under your bed. You consecrate it really good and put it under your bed, and it's like an open a vortex under your bed where your spirit can just flow straight on through. And most times people have complete consciousness of their spirit travel. So that makes it even more interesting. So you should try that technique. I think it'll be real good. I think it'll work for you. Any more questions? I'm wide open. Yeah, I mean, you can use ancestral dirts. Yeah, it's just like if you put your ancestral dirt in your bag, you're just kind of infusing your bag with your ancestral powers. You know what I mean? And it just who you're working with in particular, because when you're working with people in particular, like when you use an Aegon stick, for example, you're working with your ancestral collective. So that's the people that you know and the people that you don't know that support you. And that's the purpose of having the ancestral stick consecrated, because they call for all of your ancestors that support you, and they infuse that power is infused on your stick, and not necessarily the power of the ancestors that don't support you. That's on the stick. But when we put our dirts into the bags, or when we use our ancestral stick to call up ancestors, we only trying to infuse the right ancestors into the work. Right. And the grandparents, the grandparents are always like, I call them the gatekeepers. The grandparents are like the gatekeepers. They make sure everything is right. They always look over their children in the spirit world and the grandchildren and everything else. That's why I always recommend if someone has a deceased grandparent, that should be the first one you call, because if she's over there or the grandfather's over there, they definitely they're guarding what spirits come towards you versus which ones don't. And this is why I teach that from the ancestral perspective, that your grandparents are your guardians. They're your guardians into the spirit world for those of us who have deceased grandparents. But now, if you don't have deceased grandparents, then your great grandparents, because your grandparents are still alive, but their parents are looking over them, and they have the best interest of you in mind, so they're looking over you too. And the chain of command just go back of a bunch of people that looks over other people from the spirit realm. And as a result, you end up with a huge ancestral collective of people that you can call forth, and where you really don't need to call out the spirits. You know what I mean? All you need to know is your grandparents' name, and you call forth your guardians and any other spirit that helps you, that walks with you, that want to be working for you, would come to you through your ancestors, for the most part. The spades, it just depends when you're doing the reading about the spades. The spades could be a sign of calamity, tragedy, a sign of a definite type of transformation that needed to take place. But then even that depends on the number that falls on the spades. Like, for example, if we pull a 9 of spades, then a 9 of spades could mean 2 different things, maybe 4 different things. But one of the things that I first look at is like, okay, is there a sickness or illness in the family or with the person and things like that? Because 9 can represent death. But it also can represent the type of death that includes a transformation, from transforming from one stage of living to the next. But it won't be nice. The 9 transformation is not a nice one. The 9 transformation is a transformation where when it hits, it's hard. It's a forced transformation, more in my perspective. Let's see. What's the other question? Says, Zola says she did a reading for a client. She had a 6 and 9 of spades. Yeah, that's kind of bad. In my world, a 6 of spades with a 9 of spades is like she got to get rid of that dude she would, more than likely. She got to get rid of him. He's bad. He's draining her emotionally and things like that. So that would definitely be that, that sign, because the 6 is the man for the most part, and the man in spades is a bad man, and the 9 is a transformation, transforming something going to a rebirth. So it's like you need to get rid of this man, or this man need to change. It just kind of depends on the rest of the reading surrounding it. Yeah. It just depends on the rest of the reading surrounding it, because it might be her. Might be her. Any other questions? Any other? Charles, what you got going on, man? I know you got a question on your mind. Well, so y'all good. Y'all want me to go to sleep now? All right. So here it is. I hope everybody the consecration. Which consecration you talking about, Charles? Which one? Yeah, we're waiting on Charles to see which consecration he was talking about. Consecrating with blood. Yeah, I think I did talk about that one time before, man. Somebody else asked me that. Blood. You don't consecrate with blood. Blood is used in a different capacity in hoodoo. A lot of times people take the blood magic from African traditions and then try to put it in hoodoo. Well, hoodoo is African tradition, root work, but we do things very different. Like, for example, in most African traditions, they feed their spirits blood. In hoodoo, we don't do that, for the most part. It just depends on what you're doing. When we feed spirits blood in hoodoo, it's for, it's another level. It's another level. So, but we generally work with the spirits without that. So when you're talking about charging something with blood, it's like, what are you doing? Because blood is used in a different capacity. You don't charge with blood. If you want to charge anything, you want to charge it under the elements: earth, air, fire, and water. You want to charge it in the ocean. You want to bury it. You want to hang it up somewhere in a tree, or you want to set it to fire. Those are the things that you want to do to charge something, because those are the 4 modalities of energies that's out there. You know, when you put your blood on it, you're really making a pact with that thing by putting your blood on something. So if you're doing some work, so you're doing some dark work, and you put your blood on it, then it's like you just bounded yourself to that dark spirit you're working with. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So you don't want to do that. Yeah, Zola, I mean, there's a lot of good verses in the Bible for nature spirits and just kind of generally dealing with the nature energy, though. You know, it's a lot in there. It's a lot. I'll show you some. All right, y'all. It's Medicine Man. I hope y'all took notes more so on the aspect of how to think like a root worker and trying to keep up with the thought process. Because the thought process has to be consistent, has to be constant. Everything has to make sense to the next thing. Every ingredient has to make sense to the next ingredient that you're adding. In a future class, I'll go over the modalities of ingredients so we can talk about why we use certain things, you know, and why you can interchange, why there's no such thing as a spell per se. Because once you understand the modalities of roots, the modalities of herbs, the modalities of stones, then you understand how to make the right formula to manifest something for yourself and how to make the right formula to fully conjure a spirit up. A lot of times people think that they can just call a spirit without the medicine. Well, in root work, and any kind of root working you do, every spirit and every tradition on this planet has a particular type of medicine that goes along with the spirit. One of the many secrets of African traditions that's pretty much out there, everybody know now that spirits have medicine. And because spirits have medicine, you must know the medicine that goes to a particular spirit to fully conjure that spirit. I'm not saying that you can't conjure the spirit without the medicine. What I am saying is with the medicine, you fully conjure the spirit because you fully connect to the energy source from the right formula. So with that being said, we'll get to that in our next class. We'll get to the formulas and things like that in the future. But for now, this Medicine Man. I hope y'all enjoyed the class. I hope I gave y'all some useful, pertinent information that y'all can use to transform your life and get things in better perspective for yourself. I hope that y'all got all the information you can use to bind yourself up into a prosperous situation, because that's what it's really about. So, and this is just a piece, just a small piece that I can deliver within an hour time or so on binding yourself. So use this information wisely. If y'all have any questions in the posting in the Swamp Water Roots group, just go ahead and post wherever you need to post your questions and stuff. I'll be in there answering questions. If anything y'all think I missed or that you don't understand, just hit me up. Right on the post. Don't hit me in my inbox. Inbox is crazy. But hit me on the post and we can go ahead and discuss it and bring it to light. Other than that, this Medicine Man, I'm finna kick back. Y'all enjoy your night. Peace, love, and hair grease.